further than the publishing of ancient manuscripts and weekly video content.
You also make a huge impact across the earth in orphanages in Myanmar, India, Uganda, and Kenya.
Your support is crucial for the development of the ecclesia of real truth seekers.
We thank you for joining us in hosting Secrets Revealed, Momentary Zen, the Digital Readers Club, Ask Me Anything series, and other shows that have helped lead so many to the truth of salvation.
To become even more involved, please visit patreon.com/sacredwordpublishing, where you can partake in exclusive, interactive, patron-only content and help us continue shining the light of love in this darkened world.
All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. And thank you always for your kindness and your patience and for joining us for live fellowship. We got a good group tonight. My son's running the live stream, thank goodness. And I appreciate him and his technical expertise and doing all that. And we've got Brett with us. And of course, Lisa is riding shotgun. And we're going to be covering a continuation of the Mystery Babylon series, of which we've done it seems 39 shows or something thereabouts. It's been quite a lengthy series. Brett's been on with us for a number of years now, and he also is an author of the Way of Cain series, all of the Mystery Babylon books, which you can find at sacredwordpublishing.com. And we have a very good deal going on right now. Lisa, what was the coupon code? TY30?
Yes, all capital letters, TY number 30, and then it's 25% off for Black Friday, from what I understand.
Yeah, it could even be 30. If it's TY30, it's probably 30% off.
Ah,
But
okay.
yeah, so and that's usually we do have our largest discounts at this time, so definitely take advantage. I just ordered a whole allotment of books for this guy that I'm going to be meeting to talk about my inclusion in the Georgia Disability History Project here in Athens, Georgia. So I'm going to get him a number of my books, and they're going to make them available in the library there for the disability history stuff, which will be very cool. But yeah, so take advantage of that 30% coupon. It really adds up, makes a huge difference. You can order, all of the extra biblical text that you'd like to study, and you can also have them passed on to other people. They make great gifts. Nothing like giving the knowledge of prophecy and the insight of the scriptures, bringing people to direct relationship with the Most High and the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And there could be no greater pursuit than that, in my opinion. But as I said, we do have Brett on with us this evening, so we'll give him a chance to catch up everybody on his social contacts and media links and where you can go find and support his work, and then we'll turn it over to Lisa.
Awesome. And I agree wholeheartedly with you, Zen, about what the highest priorities are that we could be doing right now. And I think that is exactly it. And thank you, everyone. My website is mysterybabylon.com. Just join me for some good readings on there. And if you ever have questions and thoughts, you can contact me at mysterybabylon@1791.com. I'm always open for questions and thoughts, concerns. So, Lisa?
Oh, right on. Right on. I also want to let you guys know one of our moderators, he's chosen to spend his birthday evening with us. So happy birthday to Rick. Great to have you with us, brother. And thank you again for all your help in the live chat. And for myself, I'm looking forward to hearing Brett's updates. And I've been reading his latest book. I had to take it very slow because there's so much information in it. It's Rise of Mystery Babylon, Volume 3, The Seeds of the Serpent. It's just amazing. So if you guys have not read Brett's work, you can find those at sacredwordpublishing.com, and where Brett had just announced where you can reach him at if you haven't asked questions. He's very open, and his research is extremely detailed, very similar to Zen. So if you haven't ever studied anything about the serpent seed or about what actually happened in the garden, from what I understand from Brett's work, from Zen's work, from other people's work, and from my own research, it was not about just a piece of fruit. There was a lot more that happened in there that you kind of have to either read between the lines or go to other texts to get the full details. So we look forward to hearing from you, Brett, and just welcome onto our show.
All right, thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Zen. It's been quite a bit of work here I've had the last few months because I had to actually switch full-time jobs. So it was one of those type job search plus start a new one this week. So it's been quite an endeavor for me to get back on the money train again. But so I probably won't have many readings from the books this day because I think it's just been kind of chaotic here. But we'll start back again with some of it next week. But I think what we can do, I think I've talked with Zen about it a little earlier. We can start some current events discussions and such. I'm sure, especially with Lisa on the phone now, I think we'll have no problem filling up the time with talk and conversation. Good conversation.
What are you trying to say there, Brett? I'm just
No,
kidding.
no. I'm not trying to say anything negative. I'm just saying that all three heads are better than one. Let's just say that. How about that?
I'm just giving you a hard time. I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. But yes, no, I always enjoy sharing about current events, things that are going on. Personally, most of the people in the chat know that I'm going through some treatments for my health. It's very cutting edge treatments, but actually very ancient treatment using bee venom. I actually just finished doing my 8 stings that I do every other day, and Noble is injured. He has a very sore elbow, very rough night last night. So I actually stung his elbow about 3 times because it really draws out any inflammation. I know it sounds really painful, but he's already in pain, so might as well do something that helps draw out the inflammation, and just had great results with it. So I encourage anyone who hasn't heard of it to research bee venom therapy. That's what I've been doing. I haven't watched much of the news. I know that there's a lot of movement toward AI, which is what Zen and I discussed last week and the week before. And there's I'm guilty of it as well. Like, it's extremely easy to use. I mean, you can just ask your question into the computer, and even Google and a lot of the search engines have their own AI that will just answer you immediately and give you a long list of resources. And it just feels kind of like you have an extra brain or something to be able to do all this research within seconds. So it is very convenient. I enjoy the artwork as well. I'm using some artwork to illustrate a children's book I'm working on. So yeah. Brett, what are your thoughts about AI?
I honestly think it's the abomination of desolation.
Yeah,
You really
I
want
agree.
I this is when the second volume came out, the Tower of Babel. I just had the inkling, and I believe that the abomination of desolation was so important, and it was important enough that it would have uh, a relevant play in the end times. And I just started to link that together, in my opinion, way back then. And it just seems that the more that it comes on board, the more that I'm trying to keep that association and that assumption, because it does seem to make sense. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, oh, and I want to let you know too, Zen, there's a little bit of an echo they're saying in the chat. So, brother, I don't know, maybe you could mute when you're not talking, but I'm looking forward to hearing Zen's answer to your question as well, Brett.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
agree.
your
It's
echo is better now. It was a little bit, I was trying to reach out to you a little bit, but it's better now, I think.
Yeah, when Zen has his microphone on, when he's not talking, if you and I are talking, we'll probably hear a little bit of an echo. But if he mutes it, which I hate to do because I like to have him interject if he has something to say, but somehow if his microphone is on, we'll hear an echo. But as far
Okay.
as what you said about the abomination of desolation, I believe that it's definitely on the way to the mark of the beast. And I'm not sure if I would title it the abomination of desolation, but I know it's definitely leading to that, because how else are they going to get something where you have to have this, and it's something people are going to want. It has to be attractive, and it's going to lead to something where you have to have this in order to buy and sell. So that's my take on it. Zen, what about you, brother?
All right, tell me, I just did a echo cancellation, so hopefully that will help out with the
Yeah, when I
reverb
was
or
listening to
whatever.
this now, I did not hear any echo. I don't know if I have an echo right now.
Yay, good.
Do I sound
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, well, maybe that worked. All right,
Great.
well, with regard to AI, it's absolutely my affirmation that what we see with regard to what Hallel declared in Isaiah 14 of his efforts, his desire to be like the Most High and wanting to exalt his throne above the stars and the clouds of God, and to take over the discipleship, the dominion of the Son in being over the hierarchy of all of the angels. Because only the Son has such dominion. He's been born with that authority and has that providence. But AI has the drive to be like the Most High in every way. And so that means they want to divert the worship of Elohim to that of themselves. And they're going to do that by being the deceiver that we see in Revelation 12, where it speaks about that old dragon, that ancient serpent, and how he deceiveth the whole world. This is what will occur in the end times. The people will bend the knee to what will be the fallen angelic, the great white brotherhood, the golden dawn, the whatever the ascended masters, the matria, whatever you want to call them, the Mahdi, that this particular individual will have the ability to call down all signs and wonders, lying signs and wonders, of course, because it's going to be manipulative to get people to believe that he is the true Christ when he is not. And he will wage war against the saints. Now, it is my belief that the Nephilim, the fallen angels, and the gigantes, the giants, the earthborn, that were the result, the consequential result of the fornication of the sons of God with the daughters of Cain. They, because they were unnatural in a hybrid species, they have no part in salvation. They have no eternity, no eternal life to aspire to, because they were never meant to be. And because of that, they are the dark spirits that roam after their death and that are looking for bodies to possess and physical to engage others and interact in the spiritual and material aspects of this world. And so because they've had to do that by finding people, yes, whether that's because they're mentally weak or because they are deposed to demonic influence and already perhaps involved in practices where they are okay with them giving themselves up for possession or demonic influence interactions, engagements, whatever the case may be. They have occultic leanings, and those kind of individuals, they engage with these demonic influences by practicing black magic. And it's my opinion that the extension of what we see as the occult will be the technology of the beast system. And the beast system, where the image of the beast is established and all the people bend the knee to it and worship it, that is coming. And as I said, it will be that fallen angelic presence, but it will be commingled with these cyborg cybernetic technologies that make humans into machines and marry them, the material world with the spiritual world. And the robots that we see, the artificial intelligence, the syn- synergy that is occurring with the AI sentience, this will be the Skynet, the Terminator technology that at some point decides that humans are an inferior race, and because they are very much smarter than we are and will have greater capacity than we do, and they will also start to take over the labor market and perform a lot of the skill sets and the jobs that currently humans are doing. And that's going to cause more people to lose their uh, their expertise, their professional, um, what they endeavor, what they put their focus and their time and effort into with establishing their careers or jobs or whatever, or being entrepreneurs. But AI will take over a lot of what is the labor market, whether that's artistic or physical labor. Even with the military, there will be, machines. Already we see in this war with Russia and Ukraine, the main focus is the use of drone technology, and that the battlefield that has assimilated, adapted, and utilized such technologies has been the one to win in decisive outcomes of events and battles. And this will, essentially be wars of engagement as well. And so, and not that I ever want that to occur, but AI has no emotion and has no sensitivity to human emotion and has no care or concern for the sanctity of life. And because of that, they would have no problem at all, letting off a nuke in a city in some particular part of the world or organizing, where they wipe out the whole human race by decimating us with such technologies. And it's, I know I'm babbling here, but this will be the last thing. Then I'll give you all a chance to
Oh, you're fine. Keep going.
respond. But I do believe that this is why the scriptures tell us that unless the days be shortened, there should be no flesh left. And it's because the technology is going to get so out of hand and so out of the control of human hands that AI will definitely be a literal extinction level event for humanity. And, that throw that on top of all the snake bites and the World Health Organization and the push for all that. Um, and then, the genetically modified foods and the fact that foods are, you know, god awful, not even really food items. I just saw a video earlier today where an individual, he was friends with a grizzly bear, and this other kid, he was petting his Rottweiler. They were trying to feed them McDonald's hamburgers, and the bear kept spitting it out. Every time he kept trying to give it to him as a bite, he would sniff it and spit it out because they did not recognize it as a food item, and they didn't want to eat it because it was not delectable in any manner to them. It's the same thing that when you take a bowl or a one of those margarine tubs and open it and put it out on your back porch and leave it open to the wild. Even flies will not land on it because they do not recognize it as a food item. The margarine is one molecules off from being plastic, and it clogs up your arteries. It causes the arterial sclerosis, So definitely don't eat margarine. Eat real butter if you're going to do that. But that's just one of the things, Nature knows what is food and what isn't. And the fact that animals will not eat the McDonald's that you eat goes and says a lot. Lisa?
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. Another thing that came to mind when you're talking about how jobs will not be um, occupied by humans eventually, it makes sense that the college enrollment is going way down. Like every year, it seems like it's less and less students enrolling. I was looking at some statistics about it just for here in Hawaii, even because University of Hawaii is kind of attractive to a lot of students worldwide just because of the location. Although it's not the greatest school in the world as far as credentials, even their enrollment has gone way down just in the past decade, as opposed to what it used to be. And I can see why, because I mean, college is really expensive unless you have scholarships or financial aid or something. But even then, you're still paying. And then to graduate, the recent graduates, they either cannot find jobs or it's not paying what they were hoping it would be. And I think eventually we're going to see that AI is taking over so many different jobs that that, like you said, Zen, there's just not going to be employment, and then people are going to be more dependent on the government. They're going to have to resort to government for support and in order to just live in a home and to be able to eat. And that's not a good thing either, because that just gives government more and more control over lives. And so I think a lot of people in the chat as well are listening to this are trying to do things like grow their own food, other things to kind of combat that and to prepare for that time when you might not have income anymore, or if you're in college, you may not be able to get a job in the field that you want unless it's like computer related or something to that effect. But even like my son, he works for the rail here in Hawaii. We have a train. We didn't have this train until about 5 years ago, and the overseer of the entire project, he's overseen other trains worldwide. It's called Hitachi is the name of the company. And he said, oh yeah, the reason why we're pushing to have trains in all major cities worldwide is because we want to phase out cars. I mean, you can see already they're in California, they're phasing out gasoline cars, diesel cars, they're phasing out that. Everybody's doing electric. Then the next step is to make it so expensive to even register your car in the United States that you're going to have to depend on public transportation. And then that just makes it easier and easier to control. What are your thoughts on that, Brett?
Oh man, you both talked about so many good things I wanted to comment on. It's awesome. I love it.
Right on.
The quick comment on what you just said always seems to bring me to those wildfires in California and that pristine land that they could open up for a nice rail that
Yes.
they can set up. You just again, it's so convenient that certain areas are burning up, and then the government turns around and says, "Oh, no, let's just keep that land because we may need it for some kind of social thing," and there you go. Then you have, and I totally believe what you're saying. And as soon as you started talking about that rail coming in, I thought, oh, yep, to getting rid of the cars, because getting rid of cars is getting rid of your freedom, just like you said. Because I remember when I first started driving my car, and when I was very young, all they talked about was, oh, the car is the symbol of freedom, and that is the modem that you can use, right? You've heard about that, I'm sure. Once when you're a kid, they talked about the car, and that's the thing. So
Right.
it just makes total sense with this facade of, oh, climate change and all this other stuff that, it's a big, to me, it just seems like something big to get you under their thumb. Just kind of like you talk about the universal basic income is, to make things so expensive and to make AI so efficient that a lot of people won't really have jobs or really want to work anymore. And then the government will say, okay, well, we'll give you a universal basic income. You just have to, just sit around and vote for us.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. I look at a city like Singapore. We were there maybe about 10 years ago, and we were just shocked. We talked to some locals who lived there. They were on the same cruise ship as we were to go there, and we stayed there for 4 or 5 nights and just to
Mhm.
experience that. And we were wondering, this is such a major city, and there's no traffic. Like even on a Friday afternoon, Friday evening, the times in early morning, the times where you normally see like bumper to bumper traffic in major cities, Singapore doesn't have it because they hardly have any cars. And we asked the locals, like, do you guys have a car? Like, what's going on with this whole transportation thing, because their train system is really amazing. I mean, it's super clean there. It's very low cost to ride the train. You can get everywhere, all in the city, on train. I mean, it goes under the water. There's tunnels under the water, kind of like going from London to Paris. That they have that underwater tunnel that'll take you there. Singapore is full of tunnels. Like everything, there's so much underground there. And they said, oh, well, this was 10 years ago now too. I'm sure the price has gone up. But they said to register your car is $1 million. So this is why the average person cannot afford to own a car, because first you're paying for the car expense, but the registration is even more expensive than the fuel. And this is back before a lot of electric cars were coming out or becoming popular.
You mean $1 million US?
$1 million US per year to register your car. Of course, the only people that are allowed to drive those cars are like the crazy rich Asians that you see in the movie. I don't know if you saw that, but just like the elite. I think this is what they're moving toward, because Singapore is kind of a model city as far as like innovation, expansion. They had a bunch of innovation type of exhibits going on. They have the most innovative airport in the world. If you never heard that, just look up Singapore Airport. It's amazing. There's so much going on in the airport. And it's beautiful, but it's a lot of it is AI generated, and we could totally see, like, only the elite can afford to drive cars, and of course the only cars that we saw on the roads were like really, really high end cars. So they have to be like billionaires.
Let me ask you a question real quick, Lisa. Well, a lot of people rented there, right? They did not own their own homes.
Right. Exactly.
There you go. That's the next step, right?
Yep.
You will have nothing and you will like it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's amazing how this rail here in Hawaii has generated so many rental homes right around the main stations. Even there used to be sugarcane. We're like, where did all these houses come from? And they're like duplex or apartment or condo. And they're all like right around the major station of this rail. It's actually kind of near our house, but it used to be sugarcane right there. And all of a sudden there's like thousands of homes right around that area. And I could see how that would be a big draw, because if you don't have a vehicle, you have to get to the station. You want to be within walking distance. And you look at major cities like Chicago, right? Chicago has rail. You probably see a lot of homes around those areas. And New York is very similar. When we went there, we just saw people, they want to live around the station. We went to Japan a couple months ago. And we were kind of looking at homes there just because they're super cheap right now. And the big draw, the realtor said, is to have your home as close to the nearest station. They always calculate part of the draw to buy a home there is how many minutes walk is it to the station. So because that's the major form of transportation there. It's pretty expensive to own a car in Japan as well. Not like Singapore, but it's still pretty expensive.
Oh, that's
yeah.
But again, that in a nice way, that pushes everyone and everything towards this quasi-communist system of the beast, in my opinion.
Right. And then they have those little, well, not little, but they have the cities, kind of similar to what you said, Brett, like you'll own nothing, you'll be happy. Or I think there's one, I can't remember what it's called, coming up in Saudi Arabia. Even like celebrities have their names attached to these cities. Like, oh, this celebrity owns this one. It's coming up, and it's a 8-mile, I think it's called the Line. The Line, maybe someone in chat has heard of this. But the Line is like a whole rail that goes straight through the city. All the homes are stationed right along the stops with the rail. And the businesses, I mean, a lot of people are moving toward working at home just because of the technology. They can do a lot more from home. You can take classes from home. And yeah, it makes sense that people would want to rent to live in this city where their job is super close. They don't have to own a car. They don't have to worry about transportation. All the food, everything is all around in walking distance. And it's just, I mean, I can totally see all this setting up for the beast system.
Kind of reminds me of the 15-minute cities. You've heard
yes,
about that, right?
Exactly. That's what I meant. That's what they're doing to Maui, by the way. The Maui fires that happened a couple of years ago. They are making a 15-minute city in that spot, just like the fires that you mentioned in California. I know.
Your thoughts then on that?
Yeah, I got a question for you both anyways. And this has to do with you being up there in Chicago, which is a sanctuary city. How do you feel about the crime And what Trump is trying to do by stabilizing the the insane crime that is happening at all these liberal bastions with all these sanctuary cities and all these high crime illegal immigrants and gangs breaking into jewelry stores and emptying out the shops and like $1 million stolen in less than 3 minutes. It's crazy, and now they're doing it to all the stores, so much so that they're moving out. Like places
Hmm.
like Portland and California, San Francisco and LA, and all the looting and rioting and all the crime, that all these sanctuary cities are harboring. Well, the taxpayers, those that can afford to, they're booking it. They're leaving in droves. Now with Scam Donnie up there in New York, the mayor Scam Donnie, and how he's a communist, a liberal, Muslim, um, and then the whole thing with Minnesota. And I don't know if you guys have looked into that at all, but with Ilhan,
Omar,
that woman that is the Somali, um,
Ilhan Omar.
yeah, yeah, Ilhan Omar, and how her and her group, they've been stealing tax funded autistic, you know, programs for autistic kids, and how they have organized a racket where they sign up all these kids and they get all these benefits, and they're sending that back to Somalia, and it's supporting Al Shabaab, which is a terrorist organization on the ground there that hates capitalism. They're some of the Somali pirates that have gone out and stolen oil tankers and things like that. I mean, it's insanity. We're funding all this, and thank God, Trump is putting a stop to all this. Um, and because we are paying $10 billion of interest, 23 cents on the dollar every day, just to pay interest down on the debt. It's insane.
Well, it's
We'll
just the
get you to comment first.
Oh, me? It's just to bankrupt us. The United States is no longer needed by the elites right now. So that's basically what all this energy has been gone into, is to demonize, to divide and conquer, to make us angry at our brothers, just because somebody looks a little different or may act a little different, whatever. It's all about just bringing the United States down, in my opinion, because, a strength of America and Britain and some nations in Europe, etc., to fight where they were needed until World War II came around. And after World War II came around, then and it'll be in in the second book, Lisa. It'll be a conclusion of what you're reading there in Seeds of the Serpent. But after World War II decided a lot. So Zen, to your point, I believe a lot of this is just intentional. They're just feeding people. And the last time I think Chicago even had a Republican mayor was 1930, right around there.
Well,
There hasn't been a mayor in that city since around 1930. So again, I try to be compassionate. I try to think of people. I got nothing against anybody. I try to understand that everybody wants a better life, but I think a lot of people are just being fed stuff in order just to keep them situated where they're at, so they don't ever really get out and get themselves into a better situation. I think it's all pointing fingers and this and that, and these sanctuary cities are just allowing people to come in, because if you don't have the strength or upward mobility to look at what these politicians are doing, you're not going to go anywhere. You're just going to stay where you're at, and they're going to convince you all you have to do is just vote for them and things will be better. But it hasn't been better. It hasn't been better since, in the 1930s. Imagine. They've been saying these same things, and it's not just one party. There's corruption in both sides, but I think the same rhetoric that's going on in these cities, especially the sanctuary cities, are saying, we'll charge somebody else for it. You just stay where you're at and vote for us.
right, right. And a lot of people don't realize that the highest levels of government, I believe, in any country, including, especially, I think, the United States, because we're technically still under Great Britain. I mean, you can just see that with the flag, the colors, and you look at Hawaii's flag, it is Great Britain's flag. So they're telling us right there. But yeah, I think that those people who are at the highest levels, they're all part of the royals. They're all part of the serpent seed bloodline. They hate the us normie people. They want to do anything they can to just make our lives miserable, but they don't want to kill us because as for now anyway, they need us for the workforce. But eventually, they really won't need us anymore because their AI will be taking over, and so they won't really have a reason to keep us around. But for now, I mean, we are definitely not wrestling against flesh and blood. This is a spiritual battle. These people know scripture, they know the Bible, they know prophecy, probably more than most Christians do. They've studied it like it's their textbook, and they're doing whatever they can, I believe, to bring about the New World Order on their timeline. Although we all know it's under Yah's timeline, and that's who's running our country right now. They just disguise themselves under other names and other titles, but they're all part of the European royals. They're all really high level serpent seed bloodline. I mean, they're bred that way. To the higher the serpent seed bloodline, the better. I've listened to Gary Wayne, how he talks about the dragon bloodline, the elven fairy bloodline, and the highest level of the serpent seed bloodline is the title is the King of Jerusalem. And I'm sure that person is, I mean, he's also the King of Spain as of right now. But I'm sure that person has hands in big businesses, corporations, big government worldwide, just because he feels like he can. They feel like they have this divine right to rule. And of course, they're going to be overseeing everything in every nation, the UN especially, to flex their power muscle, and to bring about their new world order. They want this golden age of like how things were before the flood to come in, because they just will get more and more power. What do you guys think about that?
Zen, you can go.
Yeah, sorry.
Sure.
Without a doubt, the whole theme of asserting what is quote unquote global domination, establishing the New World Order, which is not anything new, but nothing new under the sun. Basically, is they want to establish global control or worldwide, earthwide control, because it's about the power and the control, but they want to be able to hand that over to the Antichrist and to the beast system that will be established in that day and age, which, without a doubt, in my opinion, we are that generation. It's just a matter of time. I mean, that's the next thing I'm waiting for, is like man of sin to be revealed. There's going to be that a peace treaty in the Middle East. There'll be like, uh, whether it ever comes about, a two-state solution, um, where the land will be divided, and that will be there will be repercussions for all of that. But without a doubt, the United Nations, they've already got the world established into 10 regional sections, plots, and those will be the 10 kings that give their power unto the beast for a single hour in a single day. And so they will be part of that collective economic one world religion, political, religious, economic system that unites all the medicine people, the New Ages, all the even the atheists, and all the true fascists, uh, those that worship all the Anunnaki, the fallen angels, that participate in occult rituals and demonology, Luciferianism, Satanism. They are all uniting under the banner of this one world order. And it talks about that, that in the vision of Albert Pike that he had of the coming beast system. And he basically said, it would, the whole idea between there being a war between the Israelites and the Palestinians, or what would be essentially Jacob and Esau. It would be Edom and then Israel, the promised bloodline. and the seed of the prophets, the seed of the woman, fighting the seed of the serpent, and that this war has been ongoing, will continue to be ongoing, and will not have any resolution until the coming of Messiah in second advent. And it will be at that time that there will be a separation for what will be the millennial rest, and Satan loose for little season, which we are not in the millennial age yet. Um, and I've got great respect for Noel Hadley and the work that he does, and I absolutely, without a doubt, believe that there was a worldwide Tartarian empire that was highly developed and that was manned by giants. You can tell by the technology, by the buildings, and the scale and the size of the architecture. It's all cyclopean. The doors are, made for people that are 20 and 30 foot tall, in the same way that Petra, when you look at it and see how it has been established, same thing. And you find that with a lot of these ancient megalithic structures and these ancient Tartarian empire sites, is that they look like they were fashioned by beings of very much larger stature and capability and strength, to be able to lift those 100,000-ton blocks and to stack them one on top of the other, in scale and size, to make a wall. It's not possible. We cannot recreate and refashion um, that kind of manifestation, that kind of construction in this day and age. And certainly
Yeah.
we couldn't do it back then either.
Yeah,
Go
Zen,
ahead, Bruce.
I'm glad you brought up that about Tartaria. I've studied that too. I think a lot of people who are in the chat have studied it as well. And we were talking about trains earlier. This whole country, no, all of North America, when I guess it was probably late 1700s, early 1800s, when people came to North America, they already had like a whole rail system. A lot of it was covered by mud, by some type of event that would have happened. In my opinion, a lot of that was built pre-flood because they had, nothing's new under the sun. They would have had like an integrated train system worldwide, probably underground and above ground. They had these flying machines that we don't have today. That I'm not sure what they call them. They kind of look like blimps, but they flew. Like we could see some of those like in Raiders of the Lost Ark. But the trains they were like made to last for like hundreds of years. I mean, what we have today is like so cheap compared to the quality that they had before the flood. And the Most High knew this, and so it had to take some type of catastrophe to just destroy the level of technology that they had gotten up to, which I think we're getting very close to. Before the flood, because everything was ran using metal. They used a lot of like heavy stone in their architecture. Those were made to last through the flood, and you can see the watermarks on it. Like they survived some type of cataclysm. In my opinion, it was Noah's flood. I'm not sure what Noel says about that, but that's my take on it. Because the Canaanites, in Brett's books, we can read about them, and in the Bible too. And Brett quotes the Bible that the Canaanites had this ability to build cities all the way from the very beginning, and that Cain had to get that knowledge from most likely his father and the other fallen angels as to how to construct and put together these cities. I know Zen, you've discussed before about the first city that Cain built being Tenochtitlan, because his son's name Enoch is right in there, and it matches the direction that he would have gone east of Eden, to go over there to in Mexico today. And the level of technology that was even in just that city is amazing. So, I mean, just imagine that being the first city and drawing on that to build all these other cities worldwide, that the architecture looks all the same, kind of like it's a cookie cutter. In my opinion, it was the Canaanites before the flood that were doing all that.
Pyramids from
Yeah.
both sides of the pond.
Right. There's so many pyramids in North America, Central America, South America. They're all over the place in Europe. And all my life up until several years ago, I thought, oh, they're just in Egypt, because those are the ones that we're taught about in history. But there's even larger ones. I mean, Even in my son's backyard, there's a huge pyramid like right behind his house. You could totally tell it was part of the ancient architecture that they had before the flood.
Wow.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is found everywhere. It's my opinion that I would say most of it, the majority of it, is still covered up by forests and jungles and oceans and, topography, like even swallowed up by the sands and the ice of Antarctica or the sands in the Saharan desert. And so, yeah, there's been such climate change, and I don't at all believe that humans are the problem for all that. All that is just part of the fact that the scriptures say that the earth is going to die by fire. The second world age will be consumed in fervent heat, and so it's not humans using petroleum and gases that is causing that effect as far as the earth heating up and cooling down. All that is just a part of the natural cycle of just things being in an influx of change. But certainly, we see the remnants of a very ancient world and system, and we see the remnants of that all over, and the scale of it is a very much larger size and stature. And then when you look at the oral traditions and all the native peoples, well, they talk about a race of giants having lived here and been here
Mhm.
before they were here and before they appeared on the scene. That this ancient, what is the arch nemesis of God and humanity, the giants, they are the children of the Nephilim, the fallen ones, the Nephal, those who came from the heavens to the earth came. And so all the stories now are making sense because people are being able uh, to understand and being led in discernment. They're seeing the underlying picture of truth that unites all things. And then once you have that, the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and a mind to understand, I mean, just walking outside of your house, the whole world is different. What we see, what we experience, what we feel, as far as those that understand the world and the way that it's been established, the earth being the only game in town, the firmament being established over us as the lofty roof, and that the Most High is sitting in the sides of the north, above the mount of the congregation. That is where the throne room of Elohim is and has been established. That is the place of the eternal righteous, and it will be at a later date when New Jerusalem descends down out of the heavens, that it will come here to the earth, and it will be on the earth, God willing, that we will, numbered with the elect, enjoy the Sabbath rest of the millennial age, which I am so looking forward to.
Girl, me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, Brett. Since this, is a show kind of dedicated to your work and your insights, can you share something? I mean, even if it's not a quote or whatever, about what ties your books into what we've been talking about this evening, and bring us up to um, where we were in the past to not tying it together with contemporary times.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think so. I think, Lisa, I'm ready to talk about it. I was a little bit waiting for a while, but I think I'm ready to get into the seeds of the serpent because it probably is the most relevant out of all three of them. In that book, in that first part that Lisa has, I just wanted to piggyback a little bit on what you two were saying about the influences and how it all began and such. I tend to lean a little bit more towards Atlantis itself as being something that God set his sights on to destroy, because I think a lot of those things that you were talking about, Lisa, with those advanced sky machines and all those things, I think Atlantis was one of the things, and it was probably where everybody, like Plato said, it was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, or in that area. I believe that they were just being unabated, and they thought that they can just get this pagan society with giants giving them information left and right to build whatever. And I believe, I don't, of course, I don't know if the Bible even hints to it or anything, but I believe that this destruction was a little bit more of a major destruction than even Noah's flood. I don't, in my opinion. And I believe when that happened, the giants were were amongst the first to leave, and the people that lived there. And that's why you have so many giant influences in the old world and the new, is because they spread out to flee it. Because I think Plato even said that the inhabitants knew that there was going to be something destructive coming, and they had like a few days or a day or something like that to get out. So I believe that the importance of that continent, city, whatever you call it, of Atlantis, does have a very relevant part in the past and in today. And the reason why I say today is because it's so interesting. I do a lot of reading, and I do a lot of searching on video and things on TV, etc., or whatever, cable. And there is a special on the Knights Templar, which is really fascinating. And I'll have to get the name for you guys, and I'll give it to you next time. But in there, they had, of Scott Walter? Anybody know who he is?
No.
He's a very prominent guy on a show. I think it's, oh, I can't think of the name of it, but he went around
America
and
Undiscovered.
yes, right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good show, but he would go
Oh
around
no,
and find
America
evidence.
Unearthed. That's what it
America
is.
Unearthed. That's it. That's it. And actually, at the end of that series, brought out and he says, "Hey, I'm a Freemason," and blah blah blah. So he was, I didn't know that until the very end, but then he started saying, "Oh, there's these links between the hook decks and all these things from the old world and new," and he's trying to prove that, Masonry was a part of everything, and then and the Vikings came, etc. But one thing that he did, he was on the show about the Knights Templar. Okay, and he claims, and he says, "Oh, now I'm a part of the Knights Templar," and he also had, I think it was one of the top men in the Knights Templar speaking, and they both had a discussion back and forth, and that was the whole series. But what they both said, which is fascinating to me, is they said these Knights Templar, and if anybody doesn't have a total understanding of what happened, of course, they were part of the Catholic Church, and they were looking a little bit into the esoteric and etc., and the church just arranged to have them killed, and because they're getting too powerful around the early 1300s. So that's all in the book. But basically, once they got dispersed, uh, one of the main goals that they wanted to accomplish in their reunification again as Freemasons and other groups is to get that knowledge of Atlantis back and to hold on to it and pass that along into this present day. And that kind of fascinated me. I thinking, okay, well, this group surely believed that there was an Atlantis and there was some kind of knowledge that came from it. Why could not it have come into different parts of the world, because they needed to escape? And especially the giants that wanted to escape, they get into America, North America, they get into Central America. They even went back towards the Holy Land, as and into Malta, and in those areas down there by Italy, etc., and setting up shop in all these different areas, especially England too, is because England was right around that area where Atlantis could have been destroyed. That is my take on a lot of this ancient stuff. And like you were talking about, Lisa, I totally agree that the Cainites and the ancient sons of Cain, and Cain himself was responsible for working with these giants before in pre-flood times to actually start building structures and start using all of that, what they had already inside of them, to make these buildings that no people can actually make today, considering the tools that they had back then.
Right, right. Yeah, I agree with that too, Brett. And I think too that they today, I mean, they still have the Knights Templar, of course, as an organization, but a lot of them they like to disguise themselves under a whole bunch of different other names, just even though they're all
Hmm.
kind of connected, just to confuse us all. So, I mean, Knights Templar, Jesuit, Mason, whatever you want to call them, they're all part. They're all part of secret societies. And in my opinion, and from my research, I guess you could say the kings and rulers of the earth, those who own the corporations, the royals, whatever you want to call them, they're all definitely the heads of these secret societies. And they've been raised and they've been trained as like these adepts ever since birth, practically, because they're part of that satanic bloodline. And they know that they have the divine right to rule from their ancestors, the fallen angels. And they have all these different rituals, and a lot of it is blood based. I'm sure there's been a lot exposure through the internet, social media about the different rituals that they participate in. It just seems like they're really not so secret societies anymore because we're learning so much
Hey,
about
we're
them.
at break.
Okay.
Yeah, I got something to say about it when we come back too. Interesting.
All right, we'll be right back, everyone. 2 after 9 o'clock.
Thank
Your partnership with Sacred Word Publishing goes further than the publishing of ancient manuscripts and weekly video content.
You also make a huge impact across the earth in orphanages in Myanmar, India, Uganda, and Kenya.
Your support is crucial for the development of the ecclesia of real truth seekers.
We thank you for joining us in hosting Secrets Revealed, Momentary Zen, the Digital Readers Club, Ask Me Anything series, and other shows that have helped lead so many to the truth of salvation.
To become even more involved, please visit patreon.com/sacredwordpublishing, where you can partake in exclusive, interactive, patron-only content and help us continue shining the light of love in this darkened world.
When Justin and I found out we were having a little girl, we named her Eliana and started dreaming of what life would be like with her, where we would take her, what we would teach her, and of course, what we would read to her. One day we walked around a bookstore looking for books we might want for her and found nothing. So we started brainstorming what exactly we would want. Even from a young age, we wanted her to know and understand the heart of God and hidden truths that are in ancient biblical manuscripts like the Book of Enoch, and the idea of the Prophecy for Children series was born. Justin got hard to work and Praise Yah released the Prophecy for Children series. We are grateful for the support and amazing feedback from others who have been wanting the same for their children. With our newest addition to the family, Ezra, we also added Enoch's Judgment of the Giants to this prophecy series. We're excited to keep writing books for our children to share with our truth-seeking family. To order these books today, please check out sacredwordpublishing.com/collections/children's-store.
friends. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. All right. Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to be with us this evening and joining us in fellowship. Lisa is here with me riding shotgun, and we are joined by author Brett Lee Thomas. He's written the whole Mystery Babylon Way of Cain series, which you can find at his website, mysterybabylon.com, I believe it is. Brett, you wanted to say something, so let me go ahead and turn it over to you and let you catch up.
Okay, you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
One thing I wanted to piggyback off on real quick is what you were saying, Lisa, is even in this series that I was watching that I was telling you about, they were even bragging in a little way, or just kind of not, I hate to say bragging, but just kind of happily talking about one thing that the Templars or enough of these secret societies were be able to use, and what thing that they said was that, if you're fighting an enemy, you can't really fight an enemy if you don't even know who they are, right?
Right.
So that's pretty much
Without a
why,
doubt.
yeah. So that's why
Very
they were kind
important.
of bragging about it and going in all these different facets and like the Freemasonry or whatever, and all these different names, Knights of Malta, whatever. So that way, the Catholic Church was persecuting it at the time. They couldn't they couldn't know who their enemies were if they didn't even acknowledge who. And do you think they were going to stop with the Catholic Church or anybody who else that they had odds with? I mean, if
Right.
something works, why not just keep it?
Right.
So I think I differ a little bit with the bloodlines. I think the bloodlines of that, I concentrate a little more in the books on, I think, the groups that ended up forming themselves over the years, way back from ancient times. And I think I've talked in that Seeds of the Serpent about Zepho.
Yes.
Remember we talked, yeah,
I
we talked
enjoyed.
about Zepho, and in the book of Jasher, I have a verse. It says, it's 36:23, and says, "These are the children of Esau who were born to him in the land of Canaan, and the sons of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, were Iman, Omar, Zepho." So there he is, Zepho, grandson of Esau himself. And I think the book of Jasher and maybe some other ones talk about the animosity that he had with Jacob. You guys know that's, I'm sure Zen knows that story, but
Yes.
the animosity where I think the sons of Jacob actually imprisoned Zepho,
Right. Under
and
Joseph.
right.
Under Joseph. Yes.
Yes. Oh, it's under Joseph. Okay, yeah. And they had basically they escaped, and ever since then, Zepho vowed revenge. But where did they go? Did they end up? I think they ended up influenced Rome, ancient Rome, and so that was one powerhouse that they helped to establish, because in that area, then they said, we're going to get back these true sons of Israel. We're going to take them down. And you think about the animosity that continued there, and between these two factions, between Rome over the years and what it became an empire. And who were they always against? They always seemed to be against Israel.
Yes.
They just had this brotherhood, and you can trace that all the way back to Zepho and to Esau himself, because as you were saying earlier, Zen, you were talking about the children of the Edomites, and you were talking about against the children of Israel. And that, I think there's a quote in one of our extra biblical texts that talk about that fight will never stop. It's going to
Right.
continue on and on and on throughout the ages. It might even be in the Bible, but and I don't know if you've heard of that quote there that I think it's well, it talks about Shem actually went to Rebecca and said, "There's two nations in your womb," and I guess because she said that there were a lot of grumbling going on between the twins. Okay,
Yeah,
and
fighting. Yeah.
yeah, there's fighting in the womb, and he said he predicted what was going on. He said, okay, Esau and Jacob, which would be Israel and Edom, they are never going to fight, but they will continually be fighting till the end of time. So don't, they're started now, but they will never stop. So I try my best in these volumes, especially the last one, to just show the connection here between Edom, the ancient connection between Edom and Israel, and what Edom has become and made itself into. It's even corrupted the Jewish line, a Jewish experience. It's corrupted that. It's corrupted Rome. It's basically helped to use Rome as a powerhouse to get back at Israel. It's just never stopped. But we once you see it in all these different forms, you see, oh, that makes sense. I could see why this is enmity here and why this is there. It goes way beyond the Canaanites, in my opinion, and just your typical Canaanites and wanting to, put Jesus on the cross, the fulfillment of the Genesis 3:15 prophecy, etc. In the modern day, I think, as you were mentioning, then it goes more into nowadays just this huge battle, this subtle battle between Edom and Israel.
No, yes, for sure. And I like how you map it out. Like, for those of you who haven't read Brett's book yet, he really maps it out and it makes it super clear how they're related to the Khazars, the line of Ashkenaz. And it makes sense to me when I was reading through this that, I mean, we know that through the prophecy in the book of Revelation in the Bible, the seed of Satan. They talk about that, and we know where that is. That is in Turkey, in modern day Turkey. I'm not going to put down the entire country of Turkey and those people who live there, but they've settled in these particular lands for a reason. And if you look back to see in Legends of the Jews, and as well as in the book of Yasher, it mentions a bit of that conflict, like you were talking about, Brett, between Esau and Jacob, and how Jacob's angel is Michael, and we know
Yeah,
Esau's angel is Samael. And so
Samael.
these
Yeah.
are like Satanists. I mean, that's Satan, that's the devil. So it's like that particular fallen angel, that's who they worship. So when they talk about God, they're talking about their God. Just because our dollar bill says "In God we trust," that doesn't necessarily mean we worship the same God as the people who print the money. You know what I mean? So that's their God. When they say we praise God, we worship God, that's their God. Totally different God than ours. I'm not saying our God is Michael. Our God is the Most High, but Michael is the heavenly angel that's been placed over Israel and who is constantly fighting battles for us against the powers that be, against the principalities, and against the rulers of the darkness of this world, the fallen angels, led by Samael, also known by so many other names. But I like how you map that out, Brett, and how you make all the connections before to show the truth, because they're very good at hiding, and throwing all these different names at us, and so we get all confused and we think there's so many different, so many of them, when they're located within these very specific areas and in areas of rulership.
Yeah, yeah. I piggyback on what you're saying, Lisa. I totally agree what you're talking about. Wasn't it the 70 nations, I think, that said that each nation is supposed to have an angel that presided over the nation, or
Yes.
something like that, and or
Yes.
70 rulers, etc., spiritual. So when I get to that, I agree with that. I agree that the Samael was over Edom and Esau. So basically, I don't, obviously, when they become paganized and when they start to get into that, it's about the worship of the serpent ultimately, at the very beginning, at the very top, in paganism. So it's going to be, people who choose to worship, the serpent, or the serpent worship, etc. They're actually, going that route of ultimate Samael worship. But the presiding part is what I'm concentrating on too, is that this Samael who is over Edom is going to help to suggest and to manipulate the people themselves to try to actually into doing certain things or to having certain aggressions. And of course, who would be the ones that they would be the most against would be the chosen ones. If the Israelites, if they were actually considered the chosen ones, which I believe that says in the Bible. So you're going to have that back and forth between the two, and it's because Zen and I talk a lot about, at least we did before, about the seed of the serpent, etc., which I believe, again, we have a physical presence of evil and everything against God coming down in the bloodlines. But I believe that Edom himself and all of that is more of a spiritual evil coming down. Okay, it's not flesh and blood, because obviously Esau was from the same blood as Jacob. So we don't have any corruption there at all, right? It's a spiritual thing. It's a spiritual corruption. So we have physical corruption and we have spiritual corruption. And those are the two battles that are going on. And that's that spiritual corruption through Samael, through that spiritual angel that has domination over Edom, is the second part that I tried to bring into this whole issue here, into that book.
Oh yeah, you do you're a brilliant job at doing this, Brett.
Oh, thank you.
I'd like to hear. I'd like to hear more.
You're a little too nice there, Lisa. I appreciate.
No,
I mean, it's
no,
not like it's. Come on.
no. I've used your book to teach before, just so you have that. I give it a lot of credit, and it's taught me a lot. That's for sure.
Oh, I thank you. Yeah, I think you'll like the next one. It's gonna be. I think it's just as revealing. It gets into the two world wars and everything. All, like I said, I talked earlier, because there are forces. These same elite entities haven't left. If you really get into it, which I'll talk a little bit right now, you have that corruption going on with the last two Israelites left in the land, at the time of Jesus, because the Edomites were living right next to them, and you had Herod and etc. corrupting them and working over them. John Hyrcanus is the one who made the Edomites be circumcised and to take on the Jewish law and etc. So they were apart for a while, but then when you start to get the Romans chasing them around, after the time of Christ, they started working together. So obviously Edom's out there trying to corrupt. Edom is the issue, okay? And then you had the Edomites in Rome there, not just working as the, because that's why you hear a lot of people in Judaism and stuff saying that, oh yeah, Rome is Edom, Rome is Edom. I've got books on that, and in a sense they are correct, in my opinion, because Edom did help corrupt Rome, and they did help set them on a course of anti-Jewish, anti-Israel, tyranny.
Right. It makes so much sense when you know all this background. Like, I used to wonder, like, when I'd read the story of Messiah in the four Gospels in the Bible, and you have all this people against him, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Romans. It seemed like everybody. It makes so much more sense why he chose like that particular time in history and why that particular spot to return, and because he knew that he was going to stir up the most conflict there, because that was like super close to the seat of Satan, that was super ruled by the serpent seed all around in all different facets. I like how you call them the EJCs, the Edomite infiltrated Jews. In Brett's book, he distinguishes between the Edomite Romans and the Edomite infiltrated Jews. And a lot of people, when they first read the Bible, they're wondering, well, aren't they like the chosen people? Then why are they so against Messiah? Well, you have to make that distinction when you read the Bible. When you read about, in fact, I was taught this by a Jewish professor who became a messianic, a believer in Messiah. And he said, yeah, when it mentions about the Jews, they're talking about the leadership of all the EJCs,
the corruption.
Corruption. And of course they brought quite a bit of people from the tribes of Judah and Benjamin who re-inhabited the land after the captivity along with them. But they came back with them, from Babylon, and infiltrated the Levitical priesthood. They threw out the true Levitical priests. That's why you have like John the Baptist living in the wilderness, a bunch of other guys. Those were all like the true Levites that got thrown out of the temple by these EJC guys. And so the whole system was totally corrupt. They'd corrupted all the Torah. They added so many commandments because that's what made it so burdensome for the people to try to follow. And they're still doing that to this day in Israel. Like they act like they follow Torah, which they do to an extent, but they make it such a burden for people to follow their oral tradition when they should be just sticking to the written tradition that was given originally to Moshe.
Yeah, I feel so sorry for anybody, for the two tribes. I feel so sorry for people that, and the rest of Israel too. Anybody who's been subject to any corruption like that. I totally agree with you, Lisa, that it's sad because you do have the Torah, okay, right, the written law, and then you get the Talmud, and wasn't that finalized in Babylon, the Babylonian Talmud, I mean,
Yeah.
and that's supposedly all oral traditions of interpretations of priests, rabbis, etc., just having their own interpretations, and sometimes they even put that supposedly above the Word of God, above the Torah. That's not supposed to be that way. I mean, these are interpretations by flawed human beings. They might be great, and it's good. Sometimes it's good information for research. When I look up stuff, but we have to kind of take it and see it for what it is.
Oh, definitely.
And that again, as you're like piggyback at what you're saying is, yeah, back in the time Jesus came at quite a time because of course, you had the Roman occupation there, and Rome, of course, here we go. We got Edom on that part of it, kind of just pushing everything. Okay, you got that in the background, and then you have like Herod, and except that Herod was an Edomite, right? He was an Edomite.
Yes.
So you have Rome giving their Edomite buddies the opportunity to actually do the ruling, and imagine what they did to the priesthood over there, over the true Jewish people out there. The last two tribes, they were just getting bombarded from left, right, and center. And then you also had the Canaanites over there and jumping themselves into the as scribes. And that's helping to fulfill that Genesis 3:15 prophecy when when they're out there saying, crucify him, and they're inciting the crowd to crucify him. You've got that fulfillment, right, Zen? I know Zen probably totally agrees on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. The awesome thing about your work and my work and all of our works together is that we are confirming witness to this particular teaching and how critical it is for gaining insight and gaining clarity with regard to what has been going on for very, very, very long time. Because the initial rebellion against Most High, the iniquity that was found within Lucifer, Samael, the viper, the angel of God, the angel of death, is that there would be these divisions. There would be the separation of light and darkness, and how the angels of Most High were separated from what became Legion, and how this ancient war, it resulted in what would be the dynamics and the inner workings of the Second World Age, and how humanity would take embodiment into mortal flesh, and how our spirits would be unified with the breath of Yah, the Holy Spirit, and how that is the immortal aspect of that part of us that goes on into dreaming, and also when we are absent from the body, we are present with the Lord. All these things, even why the bloodlines, the lineages were kept such particular order and was written down. And when you look at the bloodline as it is written down in the book of the bee and also the cave of treasures,
Mm-hmm.
both of those state unequivocally that the reason these bloodlines, these lineages were being kept in such um, perfected order is because they knew that when Christ would be born of the Virgin, of the perpetual Virgin, Mary, that they would try to lead astray the Jews, the Israelites, the Hebrew people, those who may have believed on Messiah, that they would use and taint the bloodlines in order to lead the world astray to not recognizing their Savior and their Messiah. And because of that, unfortunately, the Israelites, which are God's chosen people and the ones that He has worked through to bring forth the line of prophets, of which He has unveiled the end from the beginning in sharing all these prophecies and writing down all these scriptures for us and are inheriting them as legacy. Uh, that is a great, great, great blessing and a great responsibility. And it's one that, not a lot of people can really, really uh, hold to heart and dedicate their entire lives to. Um, but certainly, all of us have prioritized the kingdom, and we have dedicated, committed ourselves to servicing it and bringing forth truth and sounding the trumpet, blowing the shofar, making people aware of those things that are coming. And the most important aspect of the whole modus operandi of Sun Tzu's, the art of war is to know your enemy. Because if
Hmm.
you don't know your enemy and how they work, the tactics they use, you are at risk and you are in danger and in harm's way. And so the most important thing to do is to come to discernment on the true nature of what is the war between the bloodlines. The seed of the woman, the seed of the serpent, as it played out through Cain and Abel, as it played out through Shem and Enoch and the rest of the children of Cain, as it would play out in continuance through um, Isaac and Ishmael, and also Jacob and Esau, and then the 12, tribes and the sons of what would be um, Rachel, and then Leah. Um, all of that, it continues the war of the Pharisees against the Messiah and how they conspired his murder. And he said that they are of their father, the devil, that he was a murderer from the beginning, and that they, going back to Cain, were the assassins of the prophets. And they have historically, throughout all time, have been the exterminators of Messiah's people. And so once you understand the war and you understand why evil is still prevalent in this day and age, why we see that, there's even now a spillover of the war of the sons of light with the sons of darkness. There is this ongoing deception in the world where most people have no idea who Oz is behind the mask, nor
Hmm.
who the New World Order elites, the secret societies, all the Freemasonic groups, how they are all structured and part of the organized evil of Legion. And so Paul was absolutely correct in telling us, warning us, that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, the powers of principalities, the rulers of darkness, and spiritual wickedness in high places. That's the discernment you want to have to wake up to, because what is following quickly in regard to all this with the AI and sentience and INET and all of that is that the Antichrist is going to come upon the world scene. And then the two witnesses Enoch and Elijah to convict him and to let us know that he is not the real Christ and that the real Christ will come after.
Yeah, I agree, Zen. I grew up in church. My dad was a pastor. I grew up like knowing Bible stories practically since I was born. And not until I think 2014, just like 12 years ago, almost 12 years ago, when we went to Israel and we were escorted and taken on tours by a former Israel resident who grew up there. He was a Hebrew professor that Noble had, and he talked about more about demons than I'd ever heard in church before. And even the people that were in our tour group, they'd be kind of laughing, like, "My goodness, he keeps talking about demons." But it's because we're not taught that in church. We're not taught what you just described, Zen. We're not taught about the evil side. We're not taught about the sons of darkness hardly enough to even know that demons and fallen angels are two different categories. Like, I didn't even know that, and I'd been in church for like over 40 years until this trip. And then so that made it really clear for me. I'm just glad that he actually did that, and then started researching on my own. And I'm still kind of shocked, like when Noble and I teach in-person Bible study, that we've had people in the past, when we start exposing the sons of darkness and exposing their rituals, exposing their secret societies, we've had people say, "No, we can't come back to this Bible study. That's just too much. We can't handle that. It's too much." It's like they don't want to know anything about the enemy. They just want to hear like the sunny, like beautiful Bible stories, and they don't want to know about the dark side. But like you said, Zen, that is key in doing spiritual warfare. How in the world are you going to fight your enemy if you don't want to know anything about him or his tactics? So I'm really disappointed in the church. But
Exactly.
I just praise the Most High for discernment, and praise Him for the Holy Spirit to bring us to this knowledge and to this discernment, and to help us to expose them, because that's what they do not want. I think that's why the church holds back, because a lot of the leaders, I'm not going to point out or say any names, but a lot of the leaders, those who are masquerading as church leaders now, especially in the U.S., are of the sons of darkness. So why would they want to share their tactics with their congregation? You know?
Yep,
Right.
I agree. And the modem that they're being pushed to follow is Antichrist.
Yeah.
And again, I got a part of my book here. I think it's the Seed of the Serpent, the first one, Lisa. What the couple definition of Antichrist, which I push quite a bit, is here's the word anti. Okay, I looked up the word anti in a couple dictionaries. One is Merriam-Webster, and one is called the Free Dictionary, and they're both online. And I want you to just I want to just echo what these say. One for anti: of the same kind, but situated opposite, exerting energy in the opposite direction or pursuing an opposite policy. Okay, let's think about this when you think about Antichrist. Here's the Free Dictionary: identical to in form or function, but lacking, opposite, or contrary in essential respects. Now think about that. Think about that. Put those definitions of anti and Christ together, and we get to see what exactly is going on in the church and in our society around us. You have a lot of people sounding kind of compassionate, loving, like Christ would, but they're not quite. They throw some opposite things in there. They have a different policy. They're a little lacking. They're contrary in the essential respects. And that, in my opinion, is the real definition of Antichrist that a lot of us miss. So you see so much of that in these modern churches, like you're talking, Lisa, where they're afraid to offend this. They're afraid to say this. So we better just talk warm and fuzzy. And you know how many times I hear on these churches about, oh, God loves you and this and that. Okay, okay, I get it. God loves me. Okay. So what's the next thing? What food are you going to feed me? Spiritual food. You know, I understand everybody's afraid to talk about hell or anything or damnation, anything. And imagine trying to listen to Zen and I talk about fallen angels multiplying with, terrestrial with human beings and creating giants. They're going to be like,
Oh my
we can't
goodness.
accept that. It needs to be some kind of, moral thing with, the sons of Seth. They can't accept it because it's something that comes out of that box, that Antichrist box. It just, and it can be exposing, right?
Right, right. And also too, like I was laughing because I started illustrating another coloring book. A lot of people know I illustrated a coloring book that's for sale in Sacred Root Publishing community store called The Firmament. And I thought, oh, I should make another one like on a topic that we discuss. And so I started illustrating one based on what exactly happened in the garden. You know, it wasn't just about a piece of fruit. And I
Oh,
got to
wow.
I got like 3 pages in and I thought, okay, wait a minute. I can't make this for children. How in the world are you going to tell a child what happened in the garden? Like that's just
Yeah, you better make that for like 17 and up or something.
I think I will. I have to put an age on there because the other one was, of course, you could use it for children about what happened with creation. But here I am drawing serpents and I'm drawing Adam and Eve, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, how in the world am I going to depict this? But they're not ready for it. A lot of people they don't think they are ready for it, but they better hurry up and get ready for it because a lot of things are just about to go down, and if they're not aware of what's going on spiritually, they're going to be so deceived. It's just not even. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm very sad. I'm sad for the church nowadays. I'm sad for Judaism, the last two tribes, Jews. I'm sad for a lot of people trying to think godly, and because in these two books, after they're both done, the both halves of the volume here, probably about 550 pages or something out of 700 will be the corruption in Jewish and Christian beliefs and thoughts and practices, and that's so sad. You know what I mean? It's my own practices too. As Protestant, it's and the Catholics. They came out of, like, they call them illegitimate children of the Catholic Church. Okay, I get it. But Catholic Protestants they've fallen so bad. There's no real belief that I can say, "Oh, I like Lutherans," or "I think this," or "I think," because it's that's the sad thing is when you look at it, everything nowadays, there is no real good faith that you could say, "Oh, this particular sector, Catholicism is right," or "This is right." That's all corrupted, and that's what
Yeah.
we're pointing out here. I think all three of us, we're just trying to inform the public that as much as you can say, oh, one light, left is better than right, right is better than left, or this, Protestant and Catholic and whatever, it's just everything's corrupt practically. So, discernment, as you were saying, Lisa, that's the thing, what we need. That's what we need to kind of just see, and we need to get some kind of information like Zen and I try to push here that you know, just the Bible is great. It's the perfect word of God, but there's nothing wrong with looking for a few more answers in some extra biblical text. It's not, as long as you use your discernment and the still small voice, you could navigate those roads.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, I used to be in that category where I was so afraid to even just open my newly purchased book of Joshua or Enoch or something because I'd always been taught no, no, don't read outside the 66, and it's like, or else what? And then the pastors that I've encountered, they always use the verse in Revelation saying that anyone who adds or so, I'm like, that doesn't even talking about the Bible. That's talking about the book of Revelation. So now
Yeah,
that
you're
I'm
not
aware of
adding anything
that.
to the Bible. You're just looking, if I read the paper, am I doing something evil too? Because I'm getting insights and moral thoughts about that, come on.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's crazy too. I mean, I've been to hundreds of churches in my life, literally. After I left the Lutheran church that I was brought up in and realized how corrupt that thing was, I went
Mm.
to so many hundreds of other churches, like you said, trying to find one that, was teaching the truth and that didn't have weird things going on. And I mean, I went through Pentecostal, I went through all these many different churches. Some of them, it was so creepy. Like once I learned about like how the sons of darkness operate and their different little hand signals and all this stuff, some of the pastors, when they would shake my hand, they would do the Masonic handshake like
Oh,
after
man.
church.
Oh,
And
no.
so already if the leadership, and a lot of the times the leadership is corrupt. It's so sad, but it starts out in seminary and it starts with the recruitment, and then the money starts coming in if they join whatever society, and there's so many. It's so crazy that they are in charge of leading churches and they've brainwashed their members to believe that they can do no wrong, that they're almost equal with God. So no, don't talk bad about them. And no, that wasn't a secret handshake. I mean, I'm trying to expose them and they're so brainwashed. It's just, oh, it's so sad. It seriously has to take a miracle for someone who is raised in churches to be able to come out of that and look back, because when you're in it, it's almost impossible to see things wrong with it. It's this heavy spiritual oppression. That's why I'm so grateful for my daughter-in-law, Kaylee. She's a fairly new believer. In fact, she was baptized at the last Sacred Word Publishing conference that we had a couple of years ago in Georgia.
Oh, good.
And she is not afraid. She testifies to her faith everywhere she goes. She started her own Bible study for new moms. She's awesome, and she's been so easy to share truth with because she was not brought up in church. She was she's tried several different religions, but she was not indoctrinated so heavily like her entire life with believing that the church was where you're going to find salvation, So
Yeah,
it's a lot
that's
easier to me to share with people like that. What are your thoughts?
yeah, that's where you get again. That's where you get Antichrist coming, because the world has to be ripe for the Antichrist person to come in, man. But the Antichrist system is already here, already around. It's not only in the government, secret societies, it's in the way of culture. It's in the way we look at people and the way we think about things. Again, the way, politically correct, or I can't say this in church, blah, blah, blah. I can never talk about the serpent seed or anything. That's that's Antichrist right there. You got to sound good, but it's not quite, quite Christ.
Right.
So I'd like to, if it's okay, I'd like to. I was going to say this at the beginning here about AI and abomination. If we can swing back, we have a second, or
Of course, of course.
Yeah,
okay,
go right ahead.
okay, and we'll get your thoughts on it. But again, this is in my second book, The Tower of Babel, and some of these things that again, it was like a little late here, piggybacking on Zen, but so a couple verses that talk about the abomination, and I want to read them real quick. It's Daniel 11:31, and this is King James Version. It says, "And they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and they shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate." And then we get Matthew 24:15 through 21. I think this is Jesus talking. Where when ye shall see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, and then I skipped over a little. Then shall great tribulation, such as not since the begin, since was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor shall ever be. And I got one more, which is Revelation 13:14 through 15. That they should make an image to the beast, that the image of this beast should both speak and cause as many that as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. So those three, I believe that we're talking about the abomination of desolation. And again, it makes total sense that if the beast was going to set up the abomination uh, in the temple, who would object if somebody put a computer in there that can whatever, you know what I mean? Could who would object? Because computers are everywhere, with the AI intelligence in there. So it just makes sense that the abomination of desolation could be put in there. And I think, as Zen said earlier, it could actually cause people to be killed if it wanted to, because I've actually heard that they were going to try to make AI work in healthcare to make like life or death decisions. I don't know if you guys remember that in the Obama administration, they were talking about death
Oh yeah.
panels, and they were talking, oh, we'll just let it up to AI to make these decisions on people's lives, whether to stop giving them medicines and stuff, but what if it becomes a little costly? There you go. You have an abomination that would be making desolate and would actually killing people. And there you go. It has, and we talked about, I just mentioned in Revelation 13, that causes many that would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So this abomination would have the power to take out people, whether it be like you talked about, Zen, the cyborgs, missiles, whatever it needed to do some destruction, even like I said, on a mass scale. What do you guys think about that? It's I guess I keep trying to put it together because computers and AI is man. It's created by man, but it's almost trying to make a god out of man, because everything that AI thinks is programmed by man or woman or mankind is what I'm trying to get to, right? So it almost is making a god out of this AI.
Yeah, it seems like that to me. I'd like to hear Zen's thoughts on that because I don't have
Yeah, I like to hear
anything
Zen's
to
too.
say.
Yeah, that's exactly the focus of the effort is to again, divert the worship of Elohim to that of Legion. And so the whole purpose for establishing a one world political, religious, economic system is to assert that control and then to utilize what everybody believes to be a peacemaker and a peace bringer, that he's going to wage war against the saints and bring destruction to the earth. It will be like a wilderness behind, but um, destruction followeth. What will be the locust army, the loosening of the locust army, the release of the giants and the Shadim from the North Pole, the Hollow Earth entrance. Um, there's a lot that is going to happen, but all of it is concluding with what is the seventh portion of the scroll of the wars of the sons of light with the sons of darkness, as they describe the 7,000 year period where the the vying of Legion and the angels of the Most High for the souls of humanity would occur over this particular duration. That the earth is the proving grounds for what is the war in heaven. And that war in heaven now rages on in our hearts and our minds, in our intellect and within our being. And that's why we have to make the right choices and have clear discernment so that we stay on the narrow way. Because we know that the broad path leads to destruction and that it will lead a lot of people astray to accept and to bow themselves before the Antichrist, the Mahdi, this fallen angelic being that is going to wage war against the saints. And unfortunately, he has the Jews specifically, which the Jews were just only one of the 12 tribes, but he has them believing in his full authority and that they are waiting for the return of Mahdi and they deny Savior Messiah. And that one thing alone, that one piece of information is causing them to lose their eternity and to not have part in the free gift of salvation that is extended to Christ to those that believe on him, that believe on the cross and the price that was paid. And so, again, I always go back to that one particular passage in the book of Thomas the Contender, or I think it's verse 29, where it says, I will call you one from 1,000, two from 10,000, which if you only have two believers out of every 10,000 people, in a world of 7 billion people, there are roundabouts 4 million believers out of the entire populace of the world. And
Wow.
so you can say without any doubt at all that the elect is but a few. The many are chosen, but few heed that call to pick up the cross and to follow the Messiah, to prioritize the kingdom. And so that's where we are now. That's what we're doing and sounding the alarm and writing the books that we write and doing the work that we do is to help those of you that are listening to prepare yourself and your family ones, your loved ones for those things that are coming. And, tomorrow you have a chance to share Thanksgiving, which is the most incredible meal with that of our loved ones and our family members. Um, realize that, we are not promised any more tomorrows. That every day could eventually be our last, and that it does not take anything but illness or, you know, um, having some kind of allergy to the things that we eat, the things that we consume. Because without a doubt, they are poisoning us with the food and the water, the air, everything, the use of microwaves, the snake bites, all of that. It's hard to imagine that humans are as healthy as we are with
Hmm.
regard to all the poisons and all the toxins that surround us and are daily bombarding our systems. And yet we are still able to um, achieve a rather high degree of capability and health and well-being if we just did simple things like eat good foods and drink good water and breathe good air. Those things alone can go a long ways in providing one spiritual, emotional, physical um, benefit, mental um, acuity, so that we can function in this world.
Yeah, I agree, Zen. It is. I think that's why they call the believers, the true believers in the last days, the remnant, just because it's such a tiny, tiny amount compared to the population of the world. And I was
Right.
looking, trying to find. I know in Second Esdras it describes that when I'm trying to find the right chapter and passage. Maybe someone in chat can help me. But where he compares it, like, a cluster of the vine, it would just be as one grape. Those the people who come to the truth and come to be
Yeah.
true believers of the Messiah, and to accept all of that knowledge that we've been given, and to pursue truth and to expose evil. It's just going to be such a tiny amount. Esdras was asking the Most High, why would you create all of these people when it's only going to be just this tiny portion? And he basically answered, it's everyone has a choice, and unfortunately, the majority of the people are not going to choose belief in the Most High. And it's really sad. But like you said, Zen, that's why, especially now, all of those of us who know the truth, that's what we should be proclaiming. We should talk to everyone we meet and make sure that they are aware of the truth, and that they know how to come to salvation. I just think that that's such an important message here in the last days.
They'll think you're crazy, Lisa. They'll think you're crazy.
Exactly. They
So
already
many
think
of
I'm
them will.
crazy. They already think I'm crazy, but
Yeah, I think it helps to just be subtle. You know what I mean? I mean, I believe in serpent seed. They'll look at you like, huh? You got two heads? So I think it's just there are a lot of inquisitive minds, I believe. But Zen, your figure kind of shocked me where you said about the 4 million, and it does kind of ring a bell, and I'm thinking, well, that could be more right than wrong, a lot more right than wrong, because how many of us are there out there compared to just the vast population? Let's say even in this country, saying what we say, believe in, even though the bunch of, like I said, I believe that there are a lot of people out there that are inquisitive. They want to know. They have a curiosity. They just either they've been so conditioned not to, like was it your stepdaughter, Lisa? Who
oh,
was the one
my
that made,
my
huh?
daughter-in-law, my daughter-in-law.
Daughter-in-law. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm sorry.
Haley.
Yeah,
Yes.
some people will take that jump and they don't care. And that's a great thing, what they can do. But I think a lot of people are just so much pressure, so much antichrist pressure of just to conform and to stay within the realms of science or quote or whatever that you've been pushed. It's just sad that uh but exactly kind of what the Bible predicted. It needed to be this kind of world for the Antichrist to come.
Yes, exactly.
I have another interesting thought that I think we were talking at the very beginning here about foods or about, the polar or the bear wouldn't eat the certain food and etc. The McDonald's hamburger. I did hear something. Maybe Lisa, you can kind of give me your thought on it, just a little off the cuff here. But I think certain of these Frankenfoods, the way it's made and with this hybrid seeds and etc. I think that could be the reason, and I've read that the body is allergic to so much and rejects it, and why you get so much inflammation inside is because your body cannot even sense that this is real food coming in, so they go set out to attack it. And I think again, that's when you hear about inflammation from what I understand is just basically your body reacting to a stressor or something that's hurt or damaged it and trying to get it out of there.
Right.
What do you guys think on that?
No, I agree. I totally agree, Brett. That is the body's response to trying to process poison. And
Mm-hmm.
that includes like what Zen said, the snake bite. That includes all of these toxic foods that are being promoted nonstop in the media, so people crave it, and then they make it taste halfway decent. A lot of it doesn't even taste good. Like I can never go back to eating fast food now that I've stopped for about 5 years. There's no
Good.
way I could ever go back to that. And I used to crave it just because they make it so you crave it. They put certain chemicals in there so you will crave it, and then your body just reacts, and then you get extremely sick, and you can come to the truth in that matter as well. Zen, did you have
Yeah.
some?
Yeah, I wanted to share a passage really quickly. I looked it up. It's in 4 Ezra chapter 8. In the first verse, he says, "And he answered me, saying, The Most High hath made this world for many, but the world to come for few. I will tell thee a similitude, Esdras, as when thou makest the earth, askest the earth, it shall say unto thee, that it giveth much mold, whereof earthen vessels are made, but little dust that gold cometh of. Even so is the course of this present world. There be many created, but few shall be saved." And so, yeah, that goes to what we were saying as far as the overcomers being a small portion, a small minority of elect.
Wow. Is that last phrase anywhere else, like in the Bible? Because many are called, a few are chosen. I heard that either in a movie or
Yeah, it's in
something else.
Matthew too, I believe.
Is in Matthew. Okay. There
Yeah,
you go. It's in
I
the
believe
Bible.
it says that, you know, many are called, but few are chosen or choose themselves or something of that nature.
That's oh, that's fascinating.
But we got just a few minutes remaining, brothers, so I'm going to give you both a chance to tie this up with final commentary.
Go for it, Lisa. I can think of something if you
Um,
like
I,
to.
I found one of the scriptures I was looking for in Second Ezra's. I'll just read this, just a couple verses real quick. This is a response to Ezra's questions. This is Second Ezra's chapter 7. And when I had finished speaking these words, the angel who had been sent to me on the former nights was sent to me again, and he said to me, "Rise, Ezra, and listen to the words I have come to speak to you." I said, "Speak." And he said, "There is a sea set in a wide expanse, so that it is broad and vast, but it has an entrance set in a narrow place, so it is like a river. If anyone then wishes to reach the sea, or to look at it, or to navigate it, how can he come to the broad part unless he passes through the narrow part?" And I think that that's a pretty good example as to how we come to faith, how we come to know the truth. It just seems like there's so many choices out there, but we have to go through certain experiences. The Most High knows exactly, he knows us so well. He knows exactly what will draw us in. He knows exactly how to draw us to himself, but we still have to make the choice if we're going to choose the rough way, the narrow path, or we're going to choose the broad expanse like everybody else is choosing. And so I just thought I'd want to end with that. Brett, go ahead.
That's a really good saying and thought. I really, really like that. I did read something too myself and kind of up that same line. It's like going some people are saying there's many pathways to God, okay? And I understand when they talk about religions, a lot of people will say that, oh, just go on your own path. So you could equate that to a person going up a mountain, okay? And as you're traveling, there's many trails to go up to the top of that mountain because that's where God is, okay? But the other part the author writes, which is really interesting, is that, you know, even though people might think there's many pathways, there's beasts laying behind different bushes ready to attack you going up, and there's traps in other areas and pitfalls that you'll fall in. So again, it's kind of up that same route of, you know, people will tell you that there's many ways to get up to the top of that mountain, but there's a lot of traps and a lot of things that can trip you up and really hurt you on the way. So you got to be careful in what you're choosing.
Yes.
And then you're and that
Yes, I like that too, Brett. Zen, did you have anything? Oh, I wanted to thank the moderators real quick. Thank you guys for keeping the chat so friendly and for everyone participating.
yes,
I love
thank
you
you.
guys, and we'll see you guys Saturday.
Yeah, and I'll just tie it all together. The one thing is that the new age is a grand deception that is going to be perpetuated and fomented by the Antichrist. So the whole idea that every religion is the same, that we all worship the same God, that is a fallacy in and of itself, because most religions that are not based upon the Judeo-Christian, as far as Israel and our being the sons of Adam and the chosen ones, as far as believers and the overcomers, um, there's this ancient war. It's been ongoing. It will continue, and Messiah will end it. If you read the scriptures, it tells us very clearly that the Antichrist will come first, but the Messiah will return to end this war, and that Satan and death will be done away with forever, and the former things will have passed away. All right, everybody, we appreciate you. Have a blessed evening. Good night. We love y'all. And thank you again, moderators. Be blessed all. Good night.
God bless all.
Your partnership with Sacred Word Publishing goes further than the publishing of ancient manuscripts and weekly video content.
You also make a huge impact across the earth in orphanages in Myanmar, India, Uganda, and Kenya.
Your support is crucial for the development of the ecclesia of real truth seekers.
We thank you for joining us in hosting Secrets Revealed, Momentary Zen, the Digital Readers Club, Ask Me Anything series, and other shows that have helped lead so many to the truth of salvation.
To become even more involved, please visit patreon.com/sacredwordpublishing, where you can partake in exclusive, interactive, patron-only content and help us continue shining the light of love in this darkened world.
When Justin and I found out we were having a little girl, we named her Eliana and started dreaming of what life would be like with her, where we would take her, what we would teach her, and of course, what we would read to her. One day we walked around a bookstore looking for books we might want for her and found nothing. So we started brainstorming what exactly we would want. Even from a young age, we wanted her to know and understand the heart of God and hidden truths that are in ancient biblical manuscripts like the Book of Enoch, and the idea of the Prophecy for Children series was born. Justin got hard to work and praise Yah released the Prophecy for Children series. We are grateful for the support and amazing feedback from others who have been wanting the same for their children. With our newest addition to the family, Ezra, we also added Enoch's Judgment of the Giants to this prophecy series. We're excited to keep writing books for our children to share with our truth-seeking family. To order these books today, please check out sacredwordpublishing.com/collections/children's-store.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this video and this broadcast. We appreciate all of you and thank you for your patronage. Please do like and subscribe and share with your friends. God bless all of you in your seeking.